MrTransformers96 here with another video that's quite unique. I'm actually doing a Captain Phasma ranking video. This is a video that I did tease, a little bit ago, and I'm finally getting around to it. Very excited to do this. About a year ago, I did a Captain Phasma ranking video where I had like 5 Captain Phasmas or so, and I just kind of compared them to each other. Now I've gone with a little bit more of a professional route, as well as I have more Captain Phasmas, a lot more to do, and so this time I'm going to be ranking these like officially with numbers. I'm going to rank them out of 5, so you can get 1, 2, 5. 0.5s work as well, so like 2.5 is a valid ranking in this countdown for me. And I'm just going to be ranking the actual figures, so I know that I do have a few other ones out here, like I have that little some of those kind of desk toy Captain Phasmas to the left there, and like the small one that's towards the middle, things like that. They won't be counted in this countdown. In this countdown, I will be just going with the main Captain Phasma like figures, and I'll show you which ones those will be in a second. But here is my full Captain Phasma collection. This is every Captain Phasma that I own, and it's every one that I want. There's not another Captain Phasma now that I still want. I have all of the ones that I want, so I'm very happy about that. And I just got the last 2 in that I've wanted, so I finally have completed my Captain Phasma collection, and I cannot wait to grow this with the Last Jedi. Hopefully we get some more great Captain Phasmas. But for The Force Awakens, we did get quite a few great Captain Phasmas as well. So let's get started. Let's show you which ones I'm going to be ranking. So these are the Captain Phasmas that we will be comparing today. As you can see, we have the 3 3/4 inch one. That one is modified though. It has some custom articulation on it. However, I do just have a mint one that's been unaltered. So this is what I'll be basing it on, and not with its customized attributes. So it'll just be based on the official figure that's come out. Then we have the 3 3/4 inch Black Series, the Figuarts, Maifix, Black Series, Elite Series, the Artfx statue, 12 inch, and Hot Toys. So as you can see, we have a nice variety of Captain Phasmas to compare, and I'll be trying to get down to what is the best figure, and kind of with that, what is my favorite figure of the series. So I'll be ranking them out of 5 points, and let's get started. We're going to have 4 categories: sculpt, paint, articulation, and the cape. So let's start it out with the sculpt. And the Hasbro 3 3/4 inch figure, I'm going to give a 1.5 when it comes to the sculpt. The sculpt I don't think is terribly great on this. It has, a very bulky, weirdly bulky chest, and then some really bulky legs, contrary to what we really see in the movie, and then the arms seem to be nicely proportioned. So the bulk distribution on this figure is quite off, and therefore only giving it a 1.5. I'm giving the 3 3/4 inch Black Series, as well as the 12 inch from Hasbro, a 2.5 as far as sculpt is concerned. They're decent, but still not completely what I'm looking for with Captain Phasma. The Elite Series 1 scores a 3.5 on sculpt. I do think that the sculpt is pretty decent on the Elite Series. She has rather skinny legs and a big helmet, which I think are strong factors of the character of Captain Phasma that some of these other figures didn't capture. The Black Series figure and the Artfx statue both get a 4.5 as far as sculpt is concerned. The Black Series one is quite nice, but with a few bulky proportions where it shouldn't be, but just about perfect. Same thing with the Artfx statue. It's almost perfect, except the head is lacking a bit of a neck. So you've got almost perfect sculpts, just with minor issues, but very minor at that. And with perfect 5-point scores on sculpt, we have the Mafex, Figuarts, as well as Hot Toys. I think that they really all nail the sculpts. The Hot Toys and Mafex one really nail it as far as the movie is concerned. The Figuarts one has some odd proportions that are not necessarily movie accurate. They were made as more of a stylized choices, as far as a rather large chest plate, the head where the helmet flares out to the sides, and then very skinny legs. They gave her more effeminate proportions, which isn't accurate, but it was a stylized choice that I really enjoy. So although I'm not, it's not necessarily accurate from a stylized point of view, I definitely really love it just as much as the other two that really nail it as far as movie accuracy. And one of the things that makes Captain Phasma so popular is her awesome colors. So what would these figures be without their paint? Let's get on with the paint. I'm giving the 3 3/4 inch figure a 1 as far as paint is concerned. The paint obviously doesn't use an accurate color. It is just a kind of dull silver, and it has a slightly different shade compared to the torso as well as the arms, so definitely deserving a 1 point. Getting a solid 2 points as far as paint, we have the 3 3/4 inch Black Series, the 6 inch Black Series, and the Elite Series Phasma. They all use a relatively similar paint scheme. It's a, just a kind of bright silver, obviously not anywhere near chrome, but they all use the same type of level, so getting that 2 points. And with the 2.5, we have the 12 inch from Hasbro. This is slightly shinier than the others. It's still obviously just a silver, but it is a relatively shiny silver. At the time, this was my shiniest Captain Phasma, and I really bought it specifically for the paint. Nowadays, with the much better and more accurate Captain Phasmas that have come out afterwards, this looks very bad, but at the time, it was a pretty shiny Captain Phasma. And with the 3.5, we have the SH Figuarts one. The paint is relatively shiny. It's the shiniest silver Captain Phasma that I have. From here on out, we have chrome variations, but this is the shiniest of the silver Captain Phasmas. Disappointed that it's not chrome, especially from an imported company, but as far as the silver goes, it's very nice. And moving on to the chrome with a 4.5 score, we have the Hot Toys as well as the Artfx statue. Both of these obviously are chrome, and at first glance they look pretty perfect. However, I do have some issues with them. The Artfx statue kind of went heavy-handed as far as the battle damage went, and therefore there's some areas that are very dark where the chrome is really minimalized. The Hot Toys one uses a great chrome and it is detailed damage-wise perfectly. However, the chest area, it has a very cloudy look to it, which I really can't stand, and it absolutely takes away from what could have been a perfect paint job. And with the perfect 5-point score, we have the Mafex version. This one is wonderful. It's a completely shiny chrome that's been battle damaged really nicely and not heavy-handed. The chrome looks wonderful. There's no areas where it's cloudy. It's the perfect, most accurate, and just well-executed Captain Phasma on the market, in my opinion, as far as the paint's concerned. One of my favorite features of figures is, of course, their articulation. So let's get on to which one has the best articulation. As far as articulation goes, 1 point is awarded to the 12 inch as well as the 3 3/4 inch Hasbro figures. Their articulation is very limited, and they're very close to identical. They have ball jointed heads, swivel shoulders, swivel thighs, and then the 12 inch one has wrist swivels. With those extra wrist swivels, it's not enough to get it to a 1.5 though. These are bottom of the barrel as far as articulation is concerned. With the 1.5, we have the Artfx Captain Phasma statue. Obviously, it's a statue, so I wouldn't expect much articulation of it, but it's pretty decent for a statue. She has a ball-jointed neck and torso, which is wonderful, a swivel at one of the arms, and then she comes with an interchangeable set of arms to change her pose out, which I would consider articulation as well. So, obviously, it's a statue. You wouldn't expect much of it, but it does have a large amount of articulation for a statue, I'd say. With 2 points, we have the Hot Toys Captain Phasma. Her articulation under the costume is, of course, excellent, a shoe-type body. However, when you throw on the costume on top of it with the armor pieces and the rubber and just all the material, it's extremely restrictive. You can get her to hold her gun with 2 hands very nicely, but forget about doing anything with the legs and the torso, unfortunately. With the 2.5, we have the 3 3/4 inch Black Series as well as the Elite Series Captain Phasma. Their articulation is pretty decent, and they don't have the exact same articulation. Some of their spots are different. However, they kind of equal each other, I would say. They have just around the same range or close to it. So not great, but, enough to get some poses. With the 3.5, we have the Black Series Captain Phasma. Articulation on the Black Series is rather standard for Black Series, and it's quite nice. Missing, a few key sections of articulation, but nonetheless, still very well articulated. Out of 4, we have the Maifix version. This one has an excellent amount of articulation. Not perfect, though, but for the most part has some really great sections that you don't see on many of these others, especially the previous ones I talked about, like a drop thigh section piece that can allow her legs to extend forward so that she can kick up higher. Also, toe hinges and a nice range as far as the waist and the torso with ball joints in both of those areas are concerned. And with a 4.5, we have the Figuarts version. This one has excellent articulation. It even has articulation to get some things out of your way, such as the pouches and the shoulder pads. That I find really wonderful. Nobody in this category gets a full 5 points. I considered giving it to this one. However, I would say that it is... some of the joints can be slightly loose, and therefore that's the thing that holds me back. But this does have excellent articulation and definitely deserves the highest points for this category. Captain Phasma is nothing without her awesome cape. There are many different versions and definitely many different styles of capes represented within these figures. So let's get down to which is the best one. In the category of capes, 1.5 is given for the 3¼ inch as well as the 12-inch Phasmas. Their capes are nice, but relatively plain, especially that 3¼ inch one. The 12-inch one is slightly nicer with some texture in there, although I don't know if that texture is accurate. It looks like it's leather when it shouldn't be. So both of these capes have their issues and at the same time are pretty plain. With 2 points, we have the Artfx statue as well as the Black Series 3¼ inch figure. The Black Series 3¼ inch one has slightly more stylized cape than the just regular 3¼ inch one, but still it's really quite plain. And then the statue has an excellent position of the cape. I absolutely love the pose, but what holds it back from getting higher is the weird texture. It has a very strange texture. You can see it on the shoulder there, but when we get to the back, as you can see, it has this weird, like, crunkled up, it looks like she just threw it in a ball, when she got home at night and didn't wash it and just threw it back on the next day. Very strange. I don't know why they went with that texture, but I love the position of it, which is why it didn't get a lower score, actually. With 2.5s, we have the Black Series and the Elite Series. I do like these capes for different reasons. I think that they're positioned quite nice. I like the dark red of the Elite Series one. I also like the way that it flares out so that if you have her arm up, it looks like it's draping nicely. The Black Series one looks very nice. I like the positioning of it, particularly at the bottom, where it kind of tapers off at the bottom on both edges. Again, that's very nice. However, the shoulder isn't very prominent, and the shoulder is very prominent on the Elite Series. So they both have their pluses and minuses, both, I would say, equaling the same level at 2.5. And out of 3, we have the Hot Toys one. This cape has some pluses, being that it's cloth, which is great, and it has a wire in it. However, the negatives are very strong, being that the wire doesn't do much because the cape is just too heavy, and the fact that they did some awful weathering on it. I don't know what they were thinking, but they went way too heavy-handed, particularly when you get to the bottom. As you can see, it just looks like it's been dragging in the mud, which certainly hasn't been shown in the movie, so I don't know why they went so heavy-handed with the weathering on it. Nice intentions, but doesn't really work. With the 3.5, we have the Figuarts Captain Phasma. This, unfortunately, is just plastic. It's not cloth. However, I would say that it's the best plastic cape that we have. I love the sculpting for her shoulder. It looks like there's a real shoulder in there, and I love the way that it folds itself on the left side there. On the right side, I wish that it was swung out and didn't fall back. However, I still do like the design of it. It's very nice. It doesn't really hinder articulation, and it has a wonderful, shoulder position. With a perfect score of 5, I have to give it to the Maifix one. This is by far the best Captain Phasma cape. It's cloth, it has a wire in it, there isn't an insane amount of battle damage that makes it look stupid, and that wire is completely stronger than the actual cloth, so where you put that wire is where the cloth will go, and it has wires in 3 places on it too, not just 2 like you'd expect. So excellent cape. You can do whatever you want with it, and it looks the most natural because you decide where it goes, as well as just it's sculpted very nicely, and it has a good shade of red in it as well. Now that they've all been scored individually in the 4 categories, we have the final count as far as what these figures all received. Let me line them up from the, to the left of the most highly rated down to the right of the worst rated. Alright, so there we have from the winner to the loser, and I will be reading off their scores with the 4 categories with a possible highest point of 5 in each category. Obviously 20 is the highest points that you can receive. The first one being the Mafex, which won at 19 points. I think that that is just an excellent figure. There's basically nothing wrong with it. I mean, its articulation is fantastic, but that's the only area where it lost a point, because there is one that's that has slightly better articulation, even though that one has great articulation anyway. Then we have the Figuarts one at 16.5, an excellent figure, not 100% accurate considering it doesn't have the chrome, which is where it lost most of its points, and it has the stylized proportions, but I like those stylized proportions just as much as I like the accuracy of some of the others, so I still really love that figure, and it has the best articulation. Then we have the Hot Toys one at a 14.5, which is really great as far as the look standpoint goes, has a great color and has a great sculpt, but in some of the other areas like articulation and cape, it certainly falters. Then we have, as you can see, two are kind of layered on each other, the Black Series and the Artfx statue, which came in at a tie at 12.5. They're both quite nice for different reasons, and they both kind of just equaled out each other because of their pluses and minuses. Then we have the Elite Series at 10.5, quite a nice figure, not fantastic, certainly lacking in some areas, but overall it's nice and it does what it's supposed to do, which is be die-cast. You know, obviously it's the only die-cast one out here that we have, so it wins in that regard. Then we have the 3¼ Black Series one at a 9, the 12-inch one at a 7.5, and then the regular 3¼ one at a 5. That 3¼ regular one, really not a good figure. It got 1s and 1.5s in every category. Just it was you know, never the best in anything, and certainly falters heavily as far as cape design and articulation in particular. But there you go. That's what I would rank it as. That's what I'd rank as the best Captain Phasma to the worst Captain Phasma, and I think that this does equal basically what I feel just in general as far as what I prefer, because I love that Maifix one, really don't care for the 12-inch or 3¼ ones, and the Figuarts and Hot Toys are my favorites, and then the ones in the middle being the statue, Black Series and Elite Series, that seems logical as well. So there you go, that's my scoring. Let me give you one more shot of the entire Phasma collection. So there is my full collection of Captain Phasmas. As you can see, I do truly love Captain Phasma. I had a ton of fun putting this ranking video together and you know, trying to figure out what I'd rank all of these and then filming it. Very fun. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for some of the Last Jedi Captain Phasma figures, and I can't wait to see Captain Phasma in The Last Jedi. So let me know what you guys think of my ranking. Let me know what you guys would rank these as, and which is your favorite and least favorite Captain Phasmas. I'd love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching.